I call to order this regular meeting of the Monument Town Council, Monday, April 21st, 2025. Please rise for the pledge. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States.
To the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Ms. Erickson, will you take roll, please?
Councilmember Chronic,
Here.
Councilmember Abbott, here. Councilmember Fiorito,
Here.
Mayor LaKine,
Here.
Councilmember Kimple,
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem King.
Here. As you all can see, we're missing a council member tonight. Before we begin tonight's meeting, we're going to make it a little longer, mostly because Jim would not have liked us to extend the time of the meeting. And I'm missing a leg to kick underneath the dais tonight. First thing is for the council to discuss and provide direction to staff on the purchase of a park bench that was brought up in email that would be dedicated to Jim. I assume this would go in the cemetery or anywhere in the town someplace? I'm sorry? Along the Santa Fe Trail? I've been told that we have the budget for it. If the council's in agreement, then we can just give the direction to staff to do that in Jim's honor.
Yep, no issues.
Okay. Cassie, is someone gonna design it, or is it a standard bench, or?
And the family can design the plaque.
Sorry.
And the family can design the plaque.
Okay. And we do have Jim's fiance here with us. And I'm glad that you're here.
Here for him.
But any of the council members have like to say anything?
Yes, please. I wrote it out because I knew I wouldn't be able to do it otherwise. I sat next to Jim on the dais for nearly 2 years, and we knew each other for a couple years prior. We hugged, bantered, argued, poked, and laughed. Off the dais and outside our official council responsibilities, we hugged, enjoyed a cocktail or two, serious and sometimes contentious conversations on a myriad of subjects, and always left with a hug. Jim, like most of us, was complex and simple. The simple part is easier to identify and was the most visible. Jim was steeped in passion and wasn't afraid to show it, loud and strong. He loved deeply, most especially his fiancée Kelly and his kids. Jim loved life and lived it with gusto. He passed doing one of the things that he loved. Overall, Jim was a good man with a huge heart and a strong religious conviction. Jim touched many lives as evidenced by his recent birthday party, and he enriched all with his humor, affable smile, and raucous laugh. Farewell, my friend. The Chronic misses you.
Anybody else have anything they want to add?
I will just add that we did several lunches at UVA's and lots of counseling sessions. And I will miss those.
Where did you eat with Jim?
UV's German restaurant.
Well,
Yeah, absolutely. We did the the gluten-free, fat-free. It was all good for you. Absolutely, promise.
Jim and I started at a Mexican restaurant. I can't ever remember the name of it. And then he started taking me to Tostique. I'm not sure if he was trying to tell me something. But it is sort of a healthy breakfast place where things are made of vegetables and not what I would consider manly breakfast. But it's where Jim liked to meet. And I've been sitting up here with him since 2020. And to your point with the hugs, I remember when he and I decided to run against each other for mayor, and we went over to Basil and Barley, and Jim said in the way Jim says things, very animated and loud enough for the whole restaurant to hear. He said, "Are we going to do this?" And we did. Later, he confided that he was very happy that he did not win. And probably a blessing in disguise for him after what ensued afterwards. But Jim, every step of the way, had my back. Without revocation. I'm going to miss him.
I'll add a little bit in just that, as everybody else up here went and met him at some restaurant or bar. I did at the same time. We started out a little bit on opposite sides of things. But you know, we did end up coming together. I considered him a great asset on this council. We have a big hole sitting over here right now. And, you know, no matter what we disagreed on, he'd always come up and, you know, pat me on the back, shake my hand, say, "Hey, Mr. King, how's it going today?" And he was a really great asset to the town, and I'll miss him up here as well.
Any staff? But any staff? I mean, some of the staff have been working with him since 2018. Anybody want to speak up?
I think, like you have all said, a big hole is missing. Jim contributed a lot to our community. He was certainly dedicated to our community. And he only wanted the best for Monument. And I always appreciated that about him. And he will certainly be missed as well.
Say something really quickly. He was kind enough to invite me as well as the rest of the council to his 60th, which was just a few weeks ago. I didn't know him as well as you guys did, but I realized this last year that how deeply he did love the town. And it showed. And I will miss that raspy voice of his and that laughter. And I can say that without a doubt, we had a great time at his party, and I was able to meet 2 of the 3 of his lovely children and talk to them, and as well as his lovely fiance. And it's going to be weird not having him up here with us. It's going to feel very quiet anyway. And I will just miss that laugh of his and giving him a hard time and having him take it so well, and just the good questions that he asked and his guidance on certain things. So yeah, Jim, we miss you.
So, at first, well, when I was called and notified of the incident, immediate shock just overwhelmed me, and a whole gambit of feelings came over, you know, anything from, you know, the life is precious. Don't take anything for granted. And I got to know Jim from years past when he first ran. And I attempted to run as well. And once we were both here on the panel, the one thing that I noticed is we had some spirited discussions and disagreements up here, up on the podium. But once we walked away, he was immediately Jim, a friend, a neighbor, a contributor to the community who cared about just everyone's well-being. And him and I were able to separate those two things. And he would always offer and extend his hand to say, let's go grab some coffee. Maybe we can go grab a beer sometime, talk offline. He always wanted to share some stories or show some of the things that he had, military items that he had that he said that I might be interested in. And I told him that I had some sand from Iwo Jima that he was keenly wanting to get so he could put it in a small vase and then hand it off to some members. So I think we need to still work that out and make that happen. But I will miss him up here. Not just from a standpoint of another council member either agreeing to disagree or agreeing and working together, but more importantly, when we walked outside, whether it was in the parking lot or we met somewhere, and it was just Jim as a neighbor and just the ability to easily talk to. And he was always willing to listen and he was always willing to share. So he will be missed.
All right, well, thank you. And I guess with that, we'll actually conduct a business meeting tonight. Ms. Town Attorney, any disclosures of conflicts of interest? Okay, now before us, then we have our agenda and consent agenda. Any modifications to that agenda?
I have none. I'll go ahead and make the motion to approve the consent agenda and the agenda as presented.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Ms. Erickson, will these be electronic also? This particular vote? Okay, so for those of you who are, well, I see a lot of familiar faces and some unfamiliar, but we are moving to electronic voting, so you will not hear us voting yay or nay. I don't know if these have been fixed with the names, but the votes should show up on the screens once we've completed them. We've had one, right? Just one so far? Okay.
It looks like it all worked.
It worked? Cool.
Bonus points.
Okay, well, I didn't see what it passed. I can't see. I can't see either one.
Click that.
I'm in the middle.
Click where the last tab over there.
Yeah.
There you go.
Ah, that motion passed 6-0. All right. The IT guy's getting challenged by the technology. All right, we'll move on to the proclamations. First up, we have National Small Business Week. Mr. Brandon Eldridge is here.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. And my condolences to Council. I think this proclamation is interested in support. So, my name is Brandon Eldridge, and I am the Executive Director at the Pikes Peak Small Business Development Center. To start, I'd like to share a quick story about a husband and wife team that came into our office. They recently had moved to the area, bringing with them a dream of opening a small woodworking studio, something that would allow them to blend craftsmanship with community. Like many entrepreneurs, they had the passion, the skills, and the beautiful product, but they didn't have a roadmap. They needed help with sales tax, bookkeeping, and building a brand from scratch. Through the Pikes Peak Small Business Development Center, we connected them with Mark Biddle, one of our expert consultants, and offered no-cost training and helped them explore some early capital needs that the business needed. I'm happy to report that their studio is now open here in Monument and operating out of their home. And even though they've considered, and they're even considering bringing on some part-time help. They're contributing to local economy, they're building a life, and it all started with that one conversation. That story is no outlier. It's what happens in our community rallies around its small businesses, and that's why I'm here tonight to thank you first and foremost for considering this proclamation in honor of National Small Business Week and to celebrate the incredible small business community right here in Monument. Small Business Week is a region-wide effort that showcases innovation, grit, and local pride. It's hosted by US Bank in collaboration with the Pikes Peak Small Business Development Center, the Better Business Bureau of Southern Colorado, and the Colorado Springs Chamber and EDC. Together, we're hosting a full week of events from award celebrations and AI workshops and networking on a professional scale to design, elevate, and empower our entrepreneurs. And I did bring some posters for you guys with all of our workshops and events for the week. I'm hopeful that we can maybe get a picture with you guys, but more to come. And we're proud that our work in Monument doesn't just show up once a year. In partnership with the Tri-Lakes Chamber of Commerce, we host monthly workshops right here in the community. These sessions give business owners the tools and mentorship they need to grow and thrive. Whether it's navigating government contracts or exploring digital marketing, we're committed to providing consistent and high-quality support. By adopting this proclamation, Monument is sending a clear message. Small businesses matter here. You're not just honoring a week, you're honoring the everyday courage that it takes to start something from scratch. And you're honoring the mom and pop shops, the freelance graphic designer from working from a kitchen, and the veteran that's launching a new business venture after veteran service. We want to thank you for your commitment and the spirit of entrepreneurship that lives here in Monument. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll have Marco will read the proclamation, please.
I think I got the longest one.
That's right.
Yeah.
All right. A proclamation to recognize May 5th through May 9th as National Small Business Week. Whereas National Small Business Week recognizes the many contributions of America's entrepreneurs and small business owners who create opportunities for families, workers, and neighbors and drive local and national economic growth. And whereas small businesses are the backbone of the economy and the guardians of the free market, representing 98.7% of all businesses in the Pikes Peak region and providing nearly half of the area's employment opportunities. And whereas the Pikes Peak Small Business Development Center exists to help existing and new businesses grow and prosper by providing free one-on-one consulting, low-cost educational seminars, and events to support business success in Monument and the surrounding areas. And whereas the Better Business Bureau of Southern Colorado has worked to advance marketplace trust by setting ethical business standards, providing consumer education and business resources, and supporting local enterprises. And whereas the Colorado Springs Chamber and Economic Development Corporation is a community organization built and infused by business leaders with a mission to achieve economic prosperity for our region. And whereas the Tri-Lakes Chamber of Commerce and Economic Development Corporation is dedicated to supporting small businesses in the Monument area through business advocacy, networking opportunities, workforce development, and business resources. And whereas small businesses in Monument and throughout the region continue to face economic uncertainties workforce challenges, and supply chain disruptions, yet persist through innovation, resilience, and determination. And whereas, without the individuals who take risks to start and sustain small businesses, and without the local resources dedicated to supporting their growth, a significant portion of our town's and nation's economy would be diminished and unable to function. And whereas the SBDC, the BBB, and the Colorado Springs Chamber and Economic Development Corporation are hosting for the 17th year special events from May 5th through May 9th throughout the region, giving business owners an opportunity to learn more about topics of business marketing, evolution, and purpose through workshops and the Small Business Week Awards celebration. And whereas the Small Business Week of the Pikes Peak region continues to be the largest celebration of small businesses throughout Colorado and one of the most significant in the United States. Now, therefore, the Monument Town Council hereby proclaims May 5th through May 9th, 2025 as National Small Business Week, proclaimed this 21st day of April, 2025.
Mouthful.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for the presentation.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Picture? We can do a picture.
Picture now?
Acceptable?
Let's do it.
I'd appreciate that.
Yeah.
If I just come up here and,
Come on, come on up.
okay, great.
By the way, Marco is for sale or hire for voiceovers. Well, we can just, yeah, just.
Okay, got it. Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next up is proclamation for Child Abuse Prevention Month, and we have with us Paul Myers Bennett from the El Paso County Department of Human Services, as well as County Commissioner Bill Wysong.
Mayor LeKind and Mayor Pro Tem King and Town Council. I'm Bill Wysong, County Commissioner for this territory, and I'd like to introduce Dr. Jason Lester, who's the Deputy Director of Children, Youth, and Family Services within the DHS organization of the county.
Thank you, sir. 100 years from now, it won't matter what kind of car I drove, what kind of house I lived in, how much money I had in the bank account, nor what my clothes looked like. But the world may be a better place because I was important in the life of a child. I bring you greetings from El Paso County Department of Human Services. Again, condolences for your loss. April is a time to recognize the important role we all play in preventing child abuse and neglect. Child safety is a cornerstone of a strong community. In 2024, 23,497 calls were made to the Child Abuse and Neglect Reporting Hotline regarding concerns for children in El Paso County. Not every call resulted in a case, and that's okay because that call may have connected a family to critically needed assistance and support. We don't expect callers to know exactly what abuse or neglect looks like. They only need to have a concern for a child. Every bit of information can help caseworkers see the bigger picture of what a family is experiencing. Staff at the El Paso County Department of Human Services are dedicated to ensuring the safety, permanency, and well-being of the children in our community. This critical work would not be possible without the ongoing support of community partners and the citizens of Monument and its surrounding areas. If you suspect child abuse or neglect of a child, please be sure to call the statewide hotline 1-844-CO for kids. The number is answered 24 hours a day and 7 days a week. Calls are confidential. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We're going to read the proclamation.
This proclamation recognizing Child Abuse Prevention Month. Whereas every child in our community deserves to be valued, nurtured, and protected so they can grow into healthy, thriving individuals. And every child is entitled to feel safe, secure, and loved. And whereas child abuse and neglect are serious issues affecting every segment of our community with long-term psychological, emotional, and physical effects that can shape a child's future and in turn the future of our county and state. And whereas strong families are the foundation of a strong community and all parents and caregivers need support at times, as providing early help to families is far less costly, both financially and emotionally, than healing from trauma after it occurs. And whereas we can prevent child abuse and neglect by working together to strengthen the 5 protective factors in families' lives: parental resilience, social connections, concrete support in times of need, knowledge of parenting and child development, and social and emotional competence in children. And whereas child abuse prevention is not the responsibility of a single agency, but of an entire community, including human service agencies, public health organizations, schools, faith groups, law enforcement, and the medical community, businesses, nonprofits, and most importantly, caring individuals who take the time to support children and families. And whereas community leaders, policymakers, and elected officials play a unique role in building a safe community for children by understanding the programs and policies that support child maltreatment prevention, listening to parents' needs, and shaping community planning through this lens to build healthier communities. And whereas by fostering a culture where every child is cherished, every family is supported, and every adult recognizes their role in preventing child abuse, we can create a safer, stronger, and more compassionate community. And whereas everyone has the power to contribute to a brighter future for children, whether by lending a helping hand to a parent, advocating for strong family policies, or simply being a trusted adult in a child's life. Now, therefore, the Monument Town Council hereby proclaims April's Child Abuse Prevention Month in Monument. No matter where we live, we each have a role to play in protecting children, strengthening families, and ensuring our community is a place where all children can thrive. Proclaimed this 21st day of April 2025.
Thank you. Thank you for bringing this to the council's attention and allowing us to participate in the proclamation.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
I mean, if you'd be willing, we'd love a photo. I mean.
Come on up. Come on up.
Except I can't watch it on the school board meeting, but they moved their meeting to Tuesday, so I get to come. I used to try and like going before, well, I was watching, it's like, I can't do that, I'll just watch it later.
the official ones here. That's okay. Okay, we have one more proclamation. This one is, well, Arbor Day. Cassie.
Evening, council members. This one's easy. Usually we hope for nice weather on Arbor Day, but I think most of you have been to our Arbor Day free plants given away, and we hope for sunshine. And this Arbor Day is this Friday at 11, right outside the sanitation department's office, which is right next to Black Forest Cafe. And I'm just asking that you read out our proclamation that affirms our commitment to planting trees and how important they are to our community.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. I'll read the proclamation. Whereas in 1872, J. Sterling Morton proposed to the Nebraska Board of Agriculture that a special day be set aside for the planting of trees. And whereas the holiday called Arbor Day is now observed throughout the nation and the world. And whereas trees can reduce the erosion of our precious topsoil by wind and water, cut heating and cooling costs, and moderate temperature, clean the air, produce oxygen, and provide habitat for wildlife. And whereas trees in our town increase property values, enhance the economic vitality of business areas, and beautify our community. And whereas trees, whenever they are planted, are a source of joy and spiritual renewal. Now, therefore, the Monument Town Council hereby proclaims April 25th, 2025 as Arbor Day in the town of Monument and encourages all residents to support efforts to protect our trees and our woodlands. Proclaimed this 21st day of April, 2025.
Excellent. And I will sign that proclamation after it's reprinted. Okay. Next on the agenda is we have a presentation from our HR director, Emily Trujillo, on employee survey results. Employee satisfaction survey results.
Good evening, council, mayor. Just wanted to take a moment to kind of go over the results from our second employee satisfaction survey that was conducted in March, so last month. Just wanted to take a quick thank you, not only to the support that the council provides for us, but also the employees. To put this in a public forum, thank you. Without the employees, we would not be able to function on a daily basis. So this second survey that we have here, we reached a 38. As you can see from the graphic here, the score is a -100 to 100. So a 38 is pretty darn good. I remember last time I was here, we were at a single digits. So a lot of improvement that we've made. Just really quick, we've had 30 promoters, 17 neutrals, and 9 detractors. To remind the council, what SCORE considers a promoter is anything from a 10 to a 9. Anything that is a neutral is an 8 to a 7. And anything that's a 6 and below is looked at as a detractor. So it kind of goes like when you go to the store, they say, hey, give us 10s and 10s. Anything above an 8 would be great, because that's when it is a positive, if it is a positive experience. So moving into what I want to call the wins. So a lot more wins this time around than last time. So that's a great thing. Just to kind of take a quick little overview here. So positive workplace and community atmosphere, employee support and management appreciation, work culture and flexibility, leadership quality and improvement, and progress and future outlook, which are some of the top categories. At the previous share that I did with our first survey, the request to kind of have a little bit more information about the comments was made. So unfortunately, I cannot share the details of them since we want to maintain our employees' anonymity, but I did provide a slide that does kind of speak to a lot of the comments and a lot of the content. So there were quite a few: the great work environment, helpful colleagues, community, communication, care and feeling valued and supported from the management and staff, improvement in their work-life balance, supportive and strong leadership, optimistic outlook for the future, and a sense of teamwork, trust, and commitment were a lot of the highlights within those comments. All right, moving on to some of the opportunities that we still have, something that we still need to work on. Leadership and management concerns, workplace issues and living conditions. These two, I want to kind of reiterate the way that this polls those comments. It does not mean anything largely negative. What it wants to do is pull from certain comments where it says communication can be worked on, teammates might not be consistent. So that's what we're really focusing on. Because if we look at the previous one where it did mention leadership and management in a positive light, so we still have a little bit of work to do with the consistency, but we made enormous strides. Similar to the wins, I'm going to have some opportunities. One of the main things that our staff is looking for is growth opportunities. We know we are a small town, but everyone wants to grow. Everyone wants to contribute more than they did yesterday. So that's something we're going to work on. Communication, can never be too grand at communication, always improving. Consistency, compensation and cost of living, as well as the cost of healthcare. Kind of to bring it to a close to let you know some of the action items that us and staff are working on. We have a compensation pay equity survey that is in the final stages. That will be brought to the council to view in one of the May meetings. Working on communication. So not only are we sending that monthly newsletter to council, we send it to the staff as well. It just creates that level of transparency. It lets them know what other departments are doing. They've really appreciated that. And one thing, when we presented this to our employees, one thing we're going to all focus on, leadership and staff, is practicing our active listening, providing and being open to feedback, clear and concise messaging, asking questions and following up. And everyone has that commitment with the staff of we're going to work on communication. Another request that the staff had was a little bit more clarity with performance evaluations. We will be using one platform, no longer two different softwares. The new review process will be more of the 360 type of steps. So that way they get peer, leader, and manager feedback. It's going to create a better level of transparency and expectations, as well as create more time for those face-to-face conversations with employees and leadership. We're also going to evaluate benefits. So not only will we assess current health care, but we're also going to be working with IMA and the staff to see what is important to our staff. Do they want more wellness? Do they want a better focus on primary care? Is it cost? Is it the providers? So we're going to be able to get more information from them to make sure that we do what's best for them. And that is it. Just want to say thank you once more for the support from the council, for the employees, and everyone here in the town of Monument.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, next up, we have an ordinance and 2 resolutions for Triview Promontory Point water tank facility expansion. Mr. Ungerleider, you're going to lead this effort.
I am. Thank you, Mayor. So as the mayor introduced, we're going to be looking at approving or hoping to approve an ordinance and 2 resolutions in support of the Triview Promontory Point Water Tank Facility expansion. First of all, this is a public hearing. Notice was published for the public hearing. It's very difficult to read on the screen, but it's for Plan Commission. And then we had originally posted for April 7th to appear before you in a public hearing. That was continued that evening due to some scheduling, but we're ready to go forward with the public hearing tonight. The Triview Metropolitan District is seeking approval of a major plan unit development, a rezoning from PUD to P, and, or plan unit development to public, approval of a final plat, and approval of a site plan. So a lot going on in this case. This would all these approvals or requests are in support of the introduction of a second water tanks at Triview's existing Triview Promontory Point water tank facility on St. Lawrence Way. So this image shows all the properties that are involved with this. First of all, the existing facility is on that green square. That is that property is in a portion of Promontory Point. Its current zoning is public, and we'll be referring to that as the Triview Water Tank Facility. There's quite a bit more going on there, but that's how I'll refer to it. To the north is Promontory Point PUD, single-family residential. To the south is Promontory Point PUD, open space, and El Paso County Kingswood subdivision. To the east is Sanctuary Point PUD, open space, and to the west is Promontory Point PUD, single-family residential. A quick history, the final plan development site plan for Sanctuary Point water tank and booster station was approved by ordinance on September 8th, 2015. Track C of Sanctuary Point to the east, specifically filing 8, was a component of Sanctuary Point plan unit development, and it was approved by ordinance on January 4th, 2021. Okay. So the image before you is the Triview Utilities subdivision, which we're asking for you to in part be approved tonight. But I'm going to go through a couple of the different steps, and then at the end, I'll be requesting recommendations or requesting approvals for each of these documents. The first is ordinance number 07-2025, which is an ordinance granting the rezoning of the new 1.1 acre lot from PUD to public. See if this works. It did not. Here we go. And amending the Sanctuary Point PUD to transfer the and consolidate the 1.1 acre lot from that PUD to the existing 1.37 acre Triview water tank facility. There we go. That's the image. Resolution number 2025 is a resolution approving Triview Utilities subdivision, which is a subdivision subdividing Track C of Sanctuary Point, filing number 8, into a 1.1 acre lot and a 24.4 acre tract of land, and then consolidating the newly created 1.1 acre lot with the existing 1.37 acre Triview water tank facility to form a 2.47 acre lot, which would accommodate the construction of a second water tank. There you go. The third is a resolution 23-2025, approving the site plan for the expansion of the water tank facility to accommodate the additional 1.5, I was going to say mega gallon, but I'm sure it's wrong. Million gallon, I like mega better, mega gallon water tank, landscape screening and fence improvements. This image here shows the new water tank directly to the east and behind the existing water tank. I also want to note that they're not just building a water tank, they're also doing improvements to the property. And I think most noticeably will be a fence screening along the St. Lawrence Way, as well as landscaping along the front. So this is going to clean up the property quite a bit. The review criteria that the Plan Commission considered was that the proposed public facility expansion serves the single-family detached comprehensive plan designation for the area. The proposed project is consistent with all applicable development standards and adequately addresses all criteria. The final drainage report that was provided for the project dated December 2024 concluded that the proposed stormwater drainage improvements will provide adequate protection to this site without adverse impacts on the adjoining upstream and downstream properties. And last, no additional traffic is going to be created by the addition of this water tank. So under my ability per code, I've agreed that the traffic generation analysis was not necessary in this case. So here are the three recommended actions. First is a motion to approve ordinance number 7/2025, which is an ordinance granting a major plan unit development amendment for Sanctuary Point Phase 3, a rezone of 1.1 acres from PUD to P, public, for the expansion of Tri-View Promontory Point water tank facility. And I'll stop there.
Okay. Is there also a presentation from the applicant that's required, or?
They're here to answer any questions that you might have.
Okay, so this is well, first off, is there any questions? Are you,
He lives there. So
well, I know he's probably going to try to make sure there's some wall to protect his house from,
They do have a full presentation if it's needed.
okay. Councilmember Kimball.
Go ahead.
All right.
It's not a fight about it.
So, couple questions. Looking at the PowerPoint, page number 8, the fencing improvements and just the design plan. Because it shows this one area, on the legend, it shows a red box, proposed screen fence, and then there's a line saying proposed cycle fence. And I just see a line. I don't see where the proposed screen fence is going. One. Noting that you're removing 44 trees for this water tank and you're replacing your 7 trees. And I'm trying to figure out the location of those. And then the fencing overall. Well, before the fencing, my understanding is the property immediately behind right now from the water tank up to there's a barbed wire fencing. That area is owned by the town of Monument, and then past that barbed wire fencing, it's Classic that turned it over to Sanctuary Point. And I'm getting a head shake and a head no. So my question comes to, because then I know the area to the east from the original water tank up to that barbed wire fencing is town of Monument, and then beyond it, I think Classic has turned it over to Sanctuary Point as well. Because when you go to the El Paso County parcel website and you click on that area, that's what it shows.
So just to clarify, Andrea Barlow with NES, and I do have a full presentation, and I probably have some slides which show this a bit clearer. But the property boundary of the current tank site is the western boundary of the ownership by Tri-View for this parcel. The parcel, the track C to the east, which was part of Sanctuary Point, was handed over by Classic to Triview Metropolitan District.
Okay, because that's where I'm going is,
So that is owned by Triview Metropolitan District, and it's their water line goes through. So all the tracks within Sanctuary Point were handed over to Triview. The one to the south, which was part of Promontory originally, I believe that is the one that's owned by the town.
so and that's where I'm driving at, is I didn't know that, just want to make sure the conversation has taken place or with Sanctuary Point or turned over to the town of Monument, that we're just not land grabbing Sanctuary Point stuff and then we hear it after the fact. But I don't think that's.
No, that parcel is owned by Triview. The amendment to the Sanctuary Point PUD was intended to consolidate that existing tract and demonstrate that Sanctuary Point still maintains its requirements in terms of open space and so on. So that's all part of that submittal.
Okay, thank you. I want to, and then I'm looking at the fencing.
I did want to verify that question you had on fencing. So the red line is the new fence that's proposed. There is an existing fence along.
But on the legend, there's two. There's a proposed cyclone fence and then a proposed screen fence. The cyclone is a cyclone fence just the barbed wire fence? The chain link
fence. So that is, I'm trying to find the actual landscape plan. I was trying to do that before I popped up here. The red line on here is the new screen fence, and that has been moved up the slope. There's a slight slope on Promontory, so it's going to be a little bit higher. And so it functions better as a screen fence rather than being at the bottom of the slope. It's been repositioned to the top of the slope, and then the landscaping is proposed in front of that. Yes, it is. The remaining fence, I'm just trying to find the legend in the landscape plan. I can't.
Because you have a chain link fence to the west of this, you have a chain link fence, and then you have there's a screen fence.
Yes, there's going to be a chain link fence along the eastern perimeter of the new lot.
Oh, okay. So that's the darker. Okay. Okay. And then
chain link.
Hang on. We can't have you speaking
Yeah.
from the audience unless, Will, you've cranked those mics up, because
Yeah.
I'd appreciate it.
Yeah.
The existing, hi, I'm Steve Sheffield. I'm here to try to. The existing chain link fence on the west side of the property, that will go away, be replaced by what you see in the red there. That will be a screen fence. The chain link will also be extended from the existing, I guess, eastern boundary to encompass the entire property that we're asking for. Is that clear to everybody, or did that make no sense?
That made sense. I think one of the things that Councilmember Kimball brought up is that you have one piece of the legend, which is a solid red line that says cyclone fence.
That's not their red line. That's my red line. So I apologize for the confusion.
And then
I've been trying to get up here and apologize earlier.
A boxed red box that says proposed screen. So what is the intent? Which one is the actual screening? Is it just the matter of the line?
The red shown on the landscape plan is the screened fence. There's the remainder of the area shouldn't be shown as red on the key, is chain link that's around the perimeter of the property. That's my markings, not theirs. So I apologize.
Steve, so not to get too personal, but I'm just wondering, the screen fence to the west of that lot, you said that's going away.
No, the chain link.
The chain link is.
The existing privacy fence?
Yeah.
That goes away. Then we'll move the screen fence higher up on the hill.
I'm talking about this screen fence that's on the west side from basically the street. for St. Lawrence going back.
So you're talking about the north side?
It's basically the lot, it's that screen fence protecting the lot right next to this property. There's a screen fence there.
You're talking on the north side?
Yeah, I'm sorry, north. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, on the north side.
Yes, to
That's
be replaced by screen fence.
No, it's there. You're saying you're removing the chain link fence that's inside that.
Yeah, and the area
I-
on the north.
So again, not to get too personal, but I want to be a good neighbor since that's my lot.
I wasn't gonna say that.
Speak plainly, sir.
So the cat's out of the bag. Yeah, when I was looking at this and I was like, what are we doing here? Because I saw this legend and I was like, I'm just trying to get clarification.
I think the best way I can put it is we are trying to be sensitive to you. And we are also trying to be sensitive to the other folks that live on the.
Across the street.
Exactly.
Yeah, because they brought that up to my attention, like, hey, do you know what they're doing? I was like, it looks like they're changing the fence, but I don't know.
Yeah, and that's why we decided to shift it up the hill there and try to give a little more
Coverage.
blockage.
Yeah.
For lack of a better term.
I'm just trying to be a good neighbor. I want to know what I can do as well.
Can you decorate that fence?
No, Tri-View's been wonderful. Like when the boards start popping out, I call them, they're up there fixing it. I mean, they've been awesome. So I was just curious when I saw this, I was like, what are you doing? So,
Sorry.
that's all right. And then the trees. Because I understand we have to remove some trees to get the tank in there
Yes.
and equipment. But we're only replacing 7. We're removing 44, but we're only replacing 7.
That is correct. Once we put our water tank in there, there's no room to put trees, obviously. We're trying to minimize how many of those trees we take out. But yes, you are correct.
Just make sure on Arbor Day.
Fair enough.
Okay, I got a question for you, Mr. Hungerwater. Because I was going to ask about the property ownership too. And when I hear that land was dedicated to Tri-View and our code says it has to be dedicated to the town of Monument, do you know how that ended up happening?
I don't specifically know, but I did question that as well. But it is in fact, it was dedicated to Tri-View. So they're shifting Tri-View land to Tri-View land. And I think what we were more concerned about was just maintaining open space in accordance with our codes, and it did do that. It's a very minor, small sliver to a large piece of open space, but I can't answer why something was done years ago. We've noticed many other inconsistencies at least since I've been here, and I'm sure before. And we'll work with them as best we can to make sure we don't do it
Is
again.
that something we need to rectify somehow, or?
Well,
Because sure, here's the reason I bring it up before you take off.
Yeah.
The reason that I bring it up is because according to our code that the land is dedicated to the town, and according to our charter, we can't convey any open space to anyone without a vote of the people. So I'm not sure what to do with that information. Now, I also tried to look it up on the GSI map when I was sitting up here, but it's down. So I couldn't quite figure that out, but I'm just not sure what to do with that information since there's a conflict there. I don't have a problem with the water tank, just so we're on the same page. I'm trying to not violate the charter or anything.
Well, again, it's not a violation since it's not town property. And I know there is history that Andrea can certainly clarify if necessary, but it's taking a piece of Tri-View property, separating it from that tract and making it part of another piece of Tri-View property. So I don't think it has any impact on our charter.
Sure.
But I can understand
it had
the point you're
impact
bringing up.
It had impact on before your time.
Yeah.
Getting dedicated to the wrong entity.
I'm going to enjoy being able to say that for a little bit longer.
Okay, well,
Yeah, we.
I just want to make sure we're.
Andrea Barlow again for the record. Yeah, so at the time the Sanctuary Point PUDs were approved, there was a discussion about whether this would be these. So all the tracks within Sanctuary Point are owned by Triview, were dedicated Triview. There are perimeter tracks which are for trails, and there are internal tracks which are primarily for trails and open space. And at the time, the town said they did not want to have the responsibility of maintaining the trails or the tracks. There are substantial acreage. I think it's over 144 acres. And Triview are willing to take on that maintenance responsibility. And they do maintain all the tracks and the trails within Sanctuary Point. And it is within the Metro District, obviously for its water service and sanitary sewer service. So the whole maintenance responsibility that goes with those tracks was deemed better in the hands of Triview than the town at the time. That was what the town's preference was.
Yeah, and I understand that, but by the same token, we have the land dedication for the parks and the roads and everything too. So to keep it all consistent, the IGA agreement was that they would maintain the town property in that regard. I'm just not, it's not anything you had to do. I'm just not sure how that ended up being that way, because
It
now.
was changed during the process because initially we had those tracks shown as town of monument ownership, and they went, hang on, we don't want to own and maintain those. We'd rather Triview do it. So
I just don't want it to turn into open space being developed, which our charter prevents. That was kind of the purpose of that.
So it sounds like this happened before the current town charter.
Yes.
yes.
Is there a way that we can fix the wrong? And this is maybe a question for planning and town attorney. Not to be answered today, but is it something that we can quote unquote fix, or is it done and we just have to live with it? Because I'm with Steve. If the rules say that land is supposed to be owned by the town, managed by Triview, whomever, right? But owned by the town, it sounds like the town did something incorrect, or is there a way to, fix it?
Well, I certainly don't have an answer for that now, but
Okay.
I can tell you
Yeah.
that we are reviewing that as part of our comprehensive plan
Okay.
studies. We've identified tracts of land that are owned by the town versus by Triview in that area. So we'll certainly be talking about it as we're moving forward.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you.
this is our, this is the public hearing item?
Yes.
Doesn't say that it is.
It is.
Sure it is. Okay, since you're telling me, I'll believe you.
Because it's an ordinance. So,
The first one is an ordinance and the second
Not
is a
all.
resolution.
oh, okay.
Okay, so since this is a public hearing, item, we will open up the public hearing to anybody who is here at in town hall to speak for or against this ordinance. Is there anybody here that would like to speak? Okay, seeing none, we will put it online. Is there anybody online, Will, that would like, that has their hands up?
There are no hands made.
Yes. Oh, okay, then, seeing none, we'll bring it back to, we'll close the public hearing item and bring it back to the council for further discussion or a motion.
When was this project gonna start?
Yeah, we're, tomorrow.
Well, no, I'm serious because I see it. It's
No, we're
already,
serious too.
it's already staked out. I see it.
You'll see movement up there.
I have been
as soon as
watching
tomorrow.
movement. Yeah.
So you're ready to go as soon as approved.
They've got a spoon.
And then how long is it gonna take?
Well, it's a phased project.
Mhm.
We
We qualified for some ARPA funding on this, and we have to have those funds spent by June of 26. So we hope to have the pad completely ready to construct the tank at that time.
I will make a motion to approve.
Sorry,
Sorry,
I'm sorry, Marco. Just so to be clear, the property is monument property, correct?
Nope.
It's it's not, it's Triview.
Correct.
How can we change the zoning then?
That's why I asked Dan and
How?
Dave requested us to change the zoning.
It's within the town boundaries.
Right. It's in the town's boundaries.
It's just not town of monument ownership. It should be town of monument
Yeah.
ownership.
That's why
It is,
I
but
don't,
it's
I don't,
not.
this,
Yeah.
So,
and I'm not
But-
trying to be a stick in the mud, but it's just,
It-
how can
it-
we, how can we make a motion to change it from a PUD to public if it's not ours?
we can do that.
We can
You're
still
looking
do
at
that.
it, you should look at it as though it was John Smith as the property owner that wanted to change a property use.
So they
Don't get
still
hung
own the
up on the Triview
property,
thing.
okay, but we just changed the zoning
Mhm.
from PUD to P, okay. Okay, thank you for clarifying that, sorry, Marco.
That's actually a good question. Yeah, okay. So I'll make a motion to approve ordinance number 7-2025, an ordinance approving a major planned unit development amendment for Sanctuary Point Phase 3 and a rezone of 1.1 acres from planned unit development to P public for Triview Metropolitan District Promontory Point Water Tank Facility.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Ms. Erickson.
What happened? Oh,
Why is this all new? Click, click, click.
Gotta get a.
Yeah.
People hit
For the record, aye.
Okay, that motion passed 6-0. All right, next up, we have resolution 22-2025 approving a final plat for Triview Utility Subdivision.
That is correct,
Sure.
and it's same presentation. So Plan Commission recommended that you approve this resolution.
Anybody have any discussion items on that?
I'll make a motion to approve resolution number 22-2025, a resolution approving a final plat for Triview Utility Subdivision.
Second.
Motion and second. All powerful Oz, will you please? That motion passed 6-0. This is weird.
I'll take another vowel, please. Yeah.
Right. All right. The next up is resolution 2025, resolution approving a site plan for Triview Utility Subdivision.
Same presentation. The recommendation from Plan Commission was that you would approve this. Typically, a site plan doesn't come before you. It would be approved administratively, but we want to just make it clear to everyone what was being approved for the site and have it approved by resolution.
make a motion to approve resolution number 23-2025. A resolution approving the site plan for the expansion of the Triview Promontory Point Water Tank.
Wait,
Is that not?
no,
C.
20,
Wait. Am I on the
6C.
wrong side?
Yeah, 6C.
Do you have it up on yours?
Keep scrolling. One more. That's it.
All right, give me 1 second. It's been a night. Resolution, oh wait, it is 2025.
23 TAC
23-2025.
2025.
6C.
Thank you. I have it right here. Okay. I'll make a motion to approve resolution number 23/2025, a resolution approving a site plan for Triview Utility Subdivision.
Second.
We have a motion and a second.
Your applause.
And that motion passes 6-0. You have been approved to go forth and build a water tank.
Thank you very much.
Right on top of Ken's house.
Right. And if you have any leaks, make sure they don't head west. Right. Just no flood, no federal flood insurance for.
At least one insurance on top of it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. We're at 7,200 feet.
Right.
If we're flooding, there's bigger problems there.
All right. Next up, we have one public hearing item ordinance. And this one is an 2025, an ordinance repealing and readopting Title II of the Monument Municipal Code. This one there was a lot of red.
Blue and strike throughs. and
Yeah,
other
but
ones.
the red was something else, reading through that. So, Rebecca?
Yes, a lot of that red is because this title in particular is very charter heavy. So this will be the heaviest pull of all of the titles to get it up to speed with the charter. And what we really wanted to do is we didn't want to be duplicative so that there weren't opportunities for there to be discrimination between the two or discrepancies between the two. And so what we did is anywhere that we found where we had laid out a process, we just refer to the charter. So that's primarily probably about the first half of that document. Most of those are related to charter changes and don't change any of the substance. They simply refer back to the charter and the charter provisions will control. There were other smaller things, just like in Title I, making sure that formatting was the same, that if we had similar language throughout, that it was all of the same. But if you have any particular questions on anything in particular, I am happy to answer those as well. We did get the input of the town, of the municipal court, and of the PD in going through their sections as well to make sure that it aligned with the practical realities of the town, as well as just in line with statutes and everything legal that it needed to as well. But that it wouldn't constrain you guys from a practical side.
Okay, there were some questions asked of the council to review. So as we're discussing this this ordinance, let's talk about these three questions. The first one is that, and I assume this has got to do with the wording. Do we want to keep in the oaths of office for each of the positions of town manager, town clerk, the finance director, and police officers? I am personally in favor of that, especially the police officers, but also our town clerk and town manager. I don't know that we've had, I think in previous positions from finance perspective, I think the treasurer swore in. But we've not asked the finance director to do it before. So, I mean, up for discussion, debate, what you all want to do. We have to just give direction so that the wording is addressed in that section.
So your comment / question is whether we should put the actual oath in the.
No, it
No.
would be whether they should also have to take an oath. Your charter
Oh,
only
got you.
establishes that elected takes oath, and
I-
your charter had them
I'm
having
not
it as well.
against that. I kind of.
I do like it. I'm wondering what the other municipalities do or have in place.
I do not know off the top of my head, but I do know that you are definitely within your jurisdiction, and I bet it's split. Some do and some don't.
But police officers.
Police officers
they
have
all-
their own oath.
Right.
Yeah, so this
Which
would
is
just be
separate
the
from what
town oath.
this is separate.
Correct.
So if we were to say no to all this,
They would still have to
they
take
would
their
still
oath.
swear their oaths.
Yes.
I kind of like an oath for the, and we're talking town manager,
town clerk, finance director,
finance and
police.
police. I kind of like it. I'm
Yeah.
in favor of it.
I'm in favor of it.
I'm in favor.
Yeah. No, it's just
No,
good direction.
no, yep. So we will keep
That's
that
actually
in.
a good one, Mitch.
I didn't make it up, but thank you.
I'll give you credit.
I'm just reading it from the memo. I'm not that, I mean, I read these, but I don't, it didn't dawn on me to come up with it. Okay, the next question is related to jury fees. And the question is, do we want to keep the statutory jury fee of $6 per day for actual jury service and $3 per day for being on the jury panel alone? It's what we pay today. It's what is statutory, which means we have no choice but to
Be in compliance.
but we can increase it.
Correct.
So it's really, the question is, do we want to increase that number? Not so much do we want to keep it, because we
have to
to.
keep it.
If it's $3 or $6, does it really matter? And how many times do we have a jury?
I don't know that we,
Know of any?
I wish our judge was here, but, or our prosecuting attorney.
I know he said, I heard him speak, and he said that he's never had a jury trial in a municipal setting.
Mr. Howe, you've been here for a really long time. Can you come up and shed some of your worldly experience as previous Board of Trustee member? What are you doing? Bending over.
A long time.
Do you remember?
I was a little confused by that because I went to the last meeting of the town and the attorney, and the judge, because I just wanted to see again how he acts and carries on. And I told him, as usual, you got an A+. But he goes through, if you plead not guilty, this is what you get. If you plead guilty, that's what you get. If you wish a jury trial, I didn't know we had a jury. He says it goes down to Colorado Springs. We have a jury?
You mean the county?
Sorry, county.
Go to the county. I've never heard this brought up in 5 years. So I mean, I'm fine with keeping it the same since it's never been.
Who gets it?
Right.
If we don't have a jury ever.
We could
I would think of at least doubling just in case. At least they can buy more than just a small cup of coffee.
Seems to be just a moot point.
Right. And you didn't go to the court because of your speeding ticket?
It was a violation of my privacy. I sit there and at the end he says, there are 2 of you left. What are you here for? I told him. Anyway, so.
Thank you for that.
He does a wonderful job. And he's very honest and, very compassionate to the various ones. And any teenager, he says, okay, you pleaded guilty. Here's the fine. Can you pay it tonight? Yes. Dad, who's standing next to you, you pay it? He says, yes. You see that your son pays you back and I will follow up.
Thank you, Mr. Howe.
Thank you.
All right, so direction, we leave it the same?
Yeah.
Since it's not.
You want to
okay.
increase it?
I'd rather increase it just to show.
Why? If it's.
Increase it to what, $6?
9 and 6?
10 and 6 or something like that. I don't know.
Well, you
No, more than.
go ahead and make up a number. We'll follow suit. I mean, that doesn't.
What were you saying?
18 and 12.
What
Yeah,
does
I
the
like-
county do?
This is their minimum.
The county is,
Oh.
No,
and
this
I
is.
I served on a jury, but I can't remember what it was.
Yes, come up to the.
When I was the court administrator in the city of Fountain, we did have nighttime jury trials. So we did pay $6 at the end of the evening, but we also supplied dinner for the jurors as well. But I would give $6 cash to each juror at the end of the
Your
night.
idea. I want to go with Ken's amount. I think that would be, just in case.
All right, well, let's make sure we talk to the judge about trying to avoid jury trials. I don't want us going.
And what was that 18 and 12?
That's fine. I don't
I'm good with
really,
That's fine.
If it's never been used before, I'm not worried about it being used in the future.
What? Yeah, we're gonna have like 6 or 7 jury trials.
Very seldom that a municipal court.
You're probably more likely to have a
holds
6-man jury than a
trial.
12.
Thank you, Sylvia. Okay, so so those were the questions. And there was oh, section 2.32.090.
3.2.
I did not know that with the onslaught of pestilence in the town of Monument, the mayor had the power to order the police chief, and I know he's online, to add and deputize citizens to combat said pestilence. You're going to have to go back to the 10 Commandments that were on the other night and watch the movie. I think Moses did a pretty good job of.
I've watched it a bazillion times, so we have to worry about locust and.
Well, they didn't say locust. They said there's civil unrest in there and things of that nature. Maybe Chief wants to speak up as to what pestilence he would expect to come to Monument. But anyway, that section sort of threw me. And what, assuming this passes, what day? We have 10 days before this becomes effective. Well, we didn't make we just answered the questions.
Well, we now
Oh.
need to take that document
Yeah.
and make it, reflect the changes that you wanted, because the way that it struck through, we don't have those oaths for those 3 people. I'm not sure, I didn't follow it, whether you wanted it changed, the jury pay or not, but we will have to make those changes prior to posting it and sending it for codification.
But we can still vote on it and sign it.
Well, you would want to probably vote on it modified, you could ask Rebecca how she wants it, but what's presented, if it were passed exactly like this, those oaths are not represented in there.
Okay.
And I didn't follow your conversation about the jury pay because I was.
We're millions of dollars. Okay, so when the motion is made, who's been tracking the first question? We determined that we want the oath, so
But we don't want the actual physical oaths in the document. We're just saying they're going to take an oath.
Right. Yes. Be required to take an oath upon.
Yeah.
Or prior to entering service.
Yeah, and it's for town manager, town clerk, and finance.
Page 59 of the packet.
Yeah, okay. Okay.
And those were the only changes?
Well, wait, I might have others.
Changes?
Well, I have a question for Rebecca.
Yep.
Okay, so in expanding on what the mayor just said about this police powers thing, it talks about emergencies, but it doesn't really state what an emergency is. However, the charter under section 6.6 has a procedure for the passage of emergency ordinances. Does that conflict with section, whatever it is, section 2.44.030, where it talks about emergency can be declared by proclamation?
I don't think we saw a conflict with those 2.
Okay, I just want to make sure because it seems like a conflict, but one talks about a proclamation and one talks about an ordinance and special meetings, emergency meetings to determine that. So in the charter, section 6.6.
Yep.
Yeah, and this is and the way this is worded, this section 232.090 is specific to reserve police appointment powers, and the state, it says upon an emergency, right? So at some point, I'm assuming that the council would declare the emergency.
Well, if you go by the charter, it would.
Right. And
But
then
if you go by the code, it seems to conflict on section 2.
You're just trying to take my fun away.
I am trying to take your fun. No, I'm trying to take the next guy's fun away because that's what we're trying to do for the future here. I just want to make sure we're not getting we're not having conflicting information. If we're making these changes, let's make it all align.
Right.
Yeah, so maybe this is something that, yeah, maybe we continue this because there's these questions. I don't want us to do something and create a conflict with the charter.
And I'll note that down as one thing to investigate. So if there's anything else that comes up, we can make sure to double check any of those before we move to vote.
Okay, and I would also go on in that section, that 23290, because there is a section where the council takes action. Because the mayor's action is 48 hours, not to exceed 48 hours. And then, you know, I don't know how we get to this, but the next sentence says the mayor may also, with the approval of a majority of the town council, order the police chief to appoint a number of reserve police officers as approved by the council. So those approvals would have to come in public. And I don't,
If you're in an
I think this is sort of confusing because we have an emergency, we're going to call an emergency meeting and start rattling off
Sure.
Votes.
Well, the charter says that anything that we do by emergency ordinance has an additional 30 days for the public to comment on that action. So after the ordinance was established, there's a time for the public to come in and state that, you know, what we did.
Whether they agree or disagree
Right,
or
right, right.
whatever.
Not that it changes that, but at least it gives the public a chance to speak about it.
Right. So can we have that whole section looked at?
Yep.
Because it seems like there's an awful lot of power in there that's not clarified as to how we get it.
But when is that? Until the emergency is done? I guess that's not clear either.
Yeah, I think it was 48 hours in that one.
Well, that's the one, that's for me. And
That's
there's the
20
council one.
Oh, okay.
Well, there's,
And but also to Steve's point, do we need to define what an emergency is? Or is it already defined in,
Emergency, riot, pestilence,
Right, but-
COVID invasion,
but what's an emergency? In other words,
fire.
well, yeah, I mean, to me, a natural disaster could be an emergency, but But-
an invasion.
Could
you
be.
know, Mayor Senna could decide that, you know what,
Mayor said.
A nice ring to it.
I
doesn't it?
know, Mayor said.
but if it's not defined, I could just
Yes.
come up and decide.
Agreed.
Really define an emergency, you're probably defeating the purpose of
Okay.
emergency clauses, because it could be a variety of things that.
And that's fine as long as there's some kind of consensus, you know, as to what an emergency would be. You know, it doesn't have to be in writing. I mean,
I think it's probably on purpose that it's not.
if we had an emergency meeting, there would be several people that could decide if it was truly an emergency or not.
Okay, so then how about we do this? Someone makes a motion to continue this ordinance. Oh, this is public hearing, so we can't do that yet. We have to open it up for the public. So is there anybody from the public that would like to speak to this ordinance? No. Okay, Will online?
For no hands raised, Mayor.
Not even the chief protesting? Okay, so we'll bring it back. We'll close public hearing and I'll bring it back. Look for a motion to continue this to, is 2 weeks enough? Okay,
I'll make a motion that we continue ordinance number 08-2025, an ordinance repealing, oh, that's wrong. I'm sorry.
yes,
Oh,
that's
that's
the right
right.
one.
An ordinance repealing and readopting Title II of the Monument Municipal Code.
To
Second.
continue to,
Oh, continue to,
And Mr. Mayor, I think that the agenda is pretty packed for the next one, so maybe
skip to,
skipping one is a lot more free, so it'll give you more
May
time.
19th? Okay, to May 19th.
The 5th has the budget restate and so that might be a lengthy meeting.
okay, so May 19th. I hope this doesn't mess up our Wizard of Oz over there.
We need a second.
Yeah, do we need,
I second.
we have a motion and a second to continue the ordinance to May 19th.
Okay, but this is not saying that though.
It does. It says motion to continue. Right there.
Oh, okay, gotcha. All right.
Okay, the motion to continue passed 6-0. All right, well, that was fun. Let's move on to Resolution 25-2025, a resolution initiating annexation proceedings for certain property to be known as the Old Denver Road annexation and finding the petition for annexation 24-2025 to be in substantial compliance with section 31-12-107 Colorado Revised Statute. Mr. Ungelleider.
As you may recall, on April 7th, you authorized authorized a resolution for filing a petition for the annexation of Old Denver Road. A portion of that portion of Old Denver Road is owned by the town, but it is not officially or formally in the bound within town limits. Tonight we're presenting the ordinance resolution. Yes, I am not. Resolution number 2025, which is a resolution initiating the annexation proceedings for the Old Denver Road right of way. And it is codifying that you're finding the petition for annexation that was authorized under 2425 to be in substantial compliance with section 31-12-107 CRS. The resolution goes through the requirements for that petition, and the town attorney and myself have confirmed that the petition meets those requirements, and that we're by this resolution you would be setting a public hearing for the annexation on June 16th.
Wouldn't we be setting the hearing for the eligibility?
I was going to ask if this is the eligibility hearing.
Well, there's steps we have to take before eligibility.
That's why I was asking.
On June 16th, the town will be holding a hearing for the purpose of finding and determining whether the property proposed to be annexed meets the applicable requirements under Colorado law. So that's correct.
Okay, just want to make sure. Because we have to notify, this is considered a flagpole, correct?
It is not.
It's not?
It is not. It's adjacent to the town of Monument throughout, and we're just jumping to the other side of the right of way.
So do
with our
we
boundary.
need to notify adjacent property owners of the ability to annex alongside?
We'll be notifying other government entities, school districts, fire districts, and so on. We'll also be putting a notice in the newspaper for 4 weeks prior to that hearing. So we've got quite a bit of work to do before that hearing
Okay,
happens.
but the adjacent property owners that aren't government agencies,
They'll be notified as well. Property owners will be notified.
and that they can participate in annexing along with us?
I'm not sure that's a requirement of the annexation, but we can.
It is
certainly
with
put
the
that out.
flagpole. That's why I was asking. So
This-
I'm not sure
this
where
is not a
where those
flagpole.
lines are.
This is not a flagpole annexation.
Okay.
Okay.
Just want to make sure we're doing things correctly.
We want to make sure of that too. We don't want to do this
Make sure there's
twice.
no technical mistakes that have
No
to come back.
technical issues.
As I said, our town attorney has been heavily, deeply involved with this process, and I've been asked to present this to you tonight.
Okay. Any other comments or questions from council? No? All right. This is not a public hearing item, so I will look for a motion.
Right one this time. I'll make a motion to approve resolution number 25-2025. A resolution initiating annexation proceedings for certain property to be known as the Old Denver Road annexation and finding the petition for annexation number 24-2025 to be in substantial compliance with section 31-12-107 CRS.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. That motion passes 6-0. And last up is resolution 27/2025. This is a redo, resolution approving an amendment to the IGA establishing the Loop Water Authority. Mr. Tharnish, you brought a guest with you, I presume?
Yes, I have. Good evening, Mr. Mayor and Town Council. Tonight, we're going to go over the resolution approving an amendment to the IGA that was used to establish the Loop Water Authority. Where again, just to remember, we're asking to go from 3 members to 6 members with each agency with 2 members and an alternate. And tonight I have Nicole Graziano, who is the Loop Water Authority legal counsel. And we also attempted to get a hold of Mr. Cole to make sure that he had looked. I know he was looking at it at the last meeting. So, and I'll bring Nicole up. She's here to talk for a few minutes and answer any questions you may have.
I was wondering who that was in the back of the room.
Just an interested member of the public, Mayor.
Sure.
But truly, I am. Thank you. Good evening, Nicole Paykov, on behalf of the Loop Water Authority. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, and fellow council members. And I would like to express my condolences to you all as well. I'm here on behalf of the Loop Water Authority, as Mr. Tharnish said. The purpose of this amendment to the establishment agreement primarily is to allow for the current directors of the Loop Water Authority to discuss Loop Water Authority business outside of an open meeting. Currently, there are only 3 members of the Loop Authority, and with that, there are only 3 directors, and a quorum would mean 2 directors. So anytime 2 directors are together, they cannot discuss Loop Water Authority business without it being in an open meeting. So we have crafted this IGA establishment agreement amendment to increase the number of directors when there are 3 or less members to 2 directors from each member agency. That number will automatically change if there's another member that's added that equals 4 or more members to the Loop Authority, and that would mean that there would be 1 director from each member agency. That is the primary purpose of the amendment. We also wanted to clarify through the amendment some language that's currently in the establishment agreement that says that for well, I'll read it. As written, the IGA defines a quorum, and then it states no business shall be conducted in absence of a quorum, and no action taken without unanimous vote of members. Historically and currently, what the Loop Authority Board does is it interprets that language to state that as long as there is a quorum, then in order to conduct business, there needs to be a vote of the members present. So what we've done in the IGA amendment is to clarify that's what the interpretation of that language is. That language currently is ambiguous, and so to Councilmember Cronick's point in the last meeting, we're trying to make it clear. The directors interpret the language the same currently, but in the future, there may be different directors on the board, and so we don't want there to be any ambiguity. So that is the purpose of that additional amendment to the IGA.
Okay. Thank you for addressing all the questions and watching the meeting. Hope it was entertaining. Is there further discussion for the council related to this IGA amendment, this resolution?
I just have a comment. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay.
My questions were answered, so thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Can convey that we have looked it over as well as the amendments, and we don't believe that this in any way harms the position of the town in a material way.
Okay.
Excellent. Thank you very much.
I personally don't think that there would be any meetings missed. So I don't have issue with it at all.
All right, well then, seeing that there is no other questions or concern, Ken? Did you have something? Okay, then I will look for a motion.
I move to approve resolution number 27, 2025, a resolution approving an amendment to the IGA establishing the Loop Water Authority.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Ms. Oz.
Well, we do have a Chief Regal, so.
We have Chief
And now we have
Regal,
a-
and now we have
Clerk Oz.
the woman behind the curtain. That motion passes 6-0. Yep. Next up, we have a discussion item. Well.
Big one.
Yeah, this is draft financial policies. I believe Ms. Phillips is going to elaborate on one of the topics during our board retreat.
Evening, Mr. Mayor and members of the council. I am Jennifer Phillips. I am your finance director.
Will you swear an oath to that?
Okay, I'd be happy to. All right. So one of the things that I've been working on is identifying what the finance department needs to more effectively communicate what we're doing from a financial perspective, to be more transparent, and also to provide us guidelines for how we prepare the budget and other financial materials, as well as guidelines for you for your own decision making. And so I have put together some financial policies. So what I want to go over tonight is the purpose of the policies, to identify financial goals. There are 16 policies. These are all draft. They're included in your packet, and then what the next steps would be. So the purpose of financial policies, I'm not going to read this to you, but you can see that there's strong purposes, right? So we want written guidance. We want financial guidance for financial decision making. We want to support good bond ratings at some point if we want to go out for debt again. Long-term planning. We talked about that a lot at the retreat. And so you can see it's really important that we have financial policies. And these are some financial goals. And so again, these would be your goals. And so this is just proposed language. If you want to change it, if you want different goals, I'm just proposing some things that potentially could be used by the town council to say, yes, this would be our goals. These would be our goals for having financial policies and things that we would follow. Okay, so starting on the first one, financial planning and budgeting. So what I've done is I've done a very high level PowerPoint, and anytime there's a specific financial policy that I wanted to highlight to make sure you really saw that and could give me feedback, I've highlighted that on the slide, but I've tried to be very brief. So this is basically for financial planning purposes. This is where I would recommend, after your conversations during the retreat, you could also add annual strategic planning, because the strategic planning helps me a great deal when I'm putting together the budget and the long-range financial forecast. So this would be a place to be able to add that. On fund balance. So as we talked about at the retreat, each fund has a fund balance, and the fund balance is a savings for each of those funds. We have 10 funds. And so we want to make sure that the fund balances have adequate, or the funds have adequate fund balance for an emergency or something that comes up that's unexpected. So the policy decision here is specifically for the general fund reserve. Now, we could also put this towards the other funds. I focused right now on the general fund because it's the most important. And there are 3 different reserves that really we should establish. You're very familiar with one, and you had conversations about this one when we adopted the budget in December, and that is a general fund operating reserve. Really, it should be a minimum of 20%. I know things are a little tight right now, and so you may not want to set that policy, or you may want to set that as striving towards it, or some steps or measures or accomplishments. But really, to have the general fund operating reserve drop below 20 isn't 20 and above would be better financial security and sustainability. Also, good financial practice would be to have an emergency reserve. So this would be in addition to the 20%. So as we talked about at the retreat, and I always like to say, an emergency is an emergency, and it costs the same whether you're a big city or a little city. And so to be able to have an emergency reserve, we would put additional monies aside, and that way you wouldn't touch your 20% in the event of an emergency. You would have additional money set aside for an emergency and be able to have that secured there. And on top of that, to strive towards basically a budget stabilization reserve. So as we know, 2025 is a bit challenging. We know that many financial individuals out in the world are predicting a recession. And so the first thing we have to do is react to that, because we have to make sure you keep your 20% reserve and there's no stabilization fund. And so really this would be another reserve that we really would want to start to work towards. So we have the 20% established for the general fund, but we do not have an emergency reserve or a budget stabilization reserve. Expenditure control. So this is another policy. Compliance with legally adopted budget. So we do that. You receive a monthly report from us. So you're able to see that we're spending within the budget. And then we have a procurement system, sort of. So it's one of the things I'm working with my team and the departments on, is to establish a more standardized procurement process. It will help all of us be more efficient and effective. And with that, we'll come back to you probably in July, August with an updated procurement policy. And so we'll be able to talk about what we've done, what we've implemented, the controls we've put in place, and then make any policy recommendations to you with your purchasing policy. Revenue and collections. This is an assessment, so you have a good assessment of your revenues, and you want your revenues to be equitable, timely, and efficient as we collect them. And I believe we're doing that, especially now where we have self-collect. And these would be 2 policy decisions to consider. One is to strive to maintain a diverse and stable revenue base. And the other is to potentially look at establishing a citizens committee. And so that would be an opportunity to bring citizens in and talk about the finances of the city. And, you know, as we've talked about internally, the term finance committee may not be appealing to many people. And so you don't really have to understand numbers to be on a finance committee. Ultimately, what we're really talking about is levels of service. And so I think this would be a great citizens committee to start up and begin having discussions about where we are from a financial standpoint, how we increase our revenues, and then also what do our levels of service look like and what we can afford. So that would be another thing for you to consider. Grants. The town shall apply for grants consistent with the objectives and high priority needs identified by council. So again, that really helps with what we're doing in the strategic plan, so we can look specifically for grants, because there's grants all over the place. But we have to be thoughtful about what we're applying for and if it's really moving your strategic priorities forward. This is another policy decision. The grants requiring a local match that exceed $20,000 or more should come to the council for your approval, so that you know we're asking for a grant and there is a local match required, and therefore you can look at the budget and you can make that decision. Cost of service and user fees. So user fees are payments. It describes what they are. They really should, we should have a study no less than every 5 years. As you know, there is an RFP out on the street. So we're doing both a fee study and a cost allocation study model. And then once we do that, we really in your policy should have that those fees are reviewed and at least increased by CPI every year. And we won't get so far behind. Because as you know, the last fee study was 2016. So we're behind. Development impact fees, very similar. The recommendation would be that these should really be looked at every 3 years, especially with the comp plan and the projected growth that's happening. And so we have an impact fee study underway. And so your policy would then say we would need to look at that again every 3 years. Capital improvement program. So we don't really have one. One of the things that I committed to when I presented the budget in December was to develop an authentic capital improvement program. And so we'll be doing that and bringing that as part of the 26 budget. We'll have your capital improvement program set for you. Capital asset accounting and replacement. We also don't have an asset replacement fund. So capital assets are considered anything over $5,000. So when we do have to purchase them, they have to come out of operating funds, your ongoing operating funds. And so one of the things we talked about was that 1.45 million from, or 4.9 million from the ARPA monies, to put that as seed money into an asset replacement fund. We're currently developing that fund, and then we'll have a sense of when and what needs to be replaced and what that annual contribution would be to that fund. The cash management. So this is making sure that we have adequate cash on hand. Our team does a very good job of that. We watch that constantly. This is a very interesting policy decision, and this discussion came up as we were preparing the amended budget for 25. So one of the directions and a policy decision I need from you is, do you want, so right now we have multiple funds. So the reserve, your savings account in each of those reserves, the water fund, right, and the general fund, and those are being invested and they're earning interest. Generally, best practice is that those funds earn the interest and that interest stays in those funds. So if the water fund has let's say 2A has funds invested, they're earning interest, it stays in the 2A fund. We're not doing that right now. We're sweeping all of that interest and we're putting it into the general fund. It's not wrong. It's just a choice. It's a policy choice. To be very honest, it helped us a lot this year in 2024 because we did quite well with the investments because we had quite a bit of money in our investments. As we talked about, we're going to be using some of those reserves and we think interest rates will go down, so the return won't be as high. But it's really something to consider. Do you want the funds that are invested to earn their funds and keep their interest? Or do you want to sweep all that and put it in the general fund?
I'd say generally, we'd probably want to keep it in there because then it compounds, right?
Correct.
Okay. But you know, like you just mentioned, when you need it, when the economy changes or whatever, then what would be the process to take that out? Is there still a mechanism for doing that? You just generally leave it in there, except when needed?
We could put that language in your policy. So by an action of the majority of the council, the funds, but you would do it publicly, it would be discussed and you would make that decision as a budget decision. But we could certainly add that language in there. It's a good backstop.
Okay, that's where I would be personally.
I think we should sweep it into the general fund until we're in a better position, but I'm not gonna like arm wrestle anyone over. That's just my.
Well, I think what we were talking about is don't sweep it unless it's needed, then you can sweep it out. So there would be, I mean, that wouldn't have to
Yeah.
come to a vote every time we would establish the
Yeah, I
budget.
like that. Yeah,
But
that's fine.
typically it would just remain compound interest. If it was needed, then they have the authority to take it out.
Okay.
I was hoping for an arm wrestle.
All right. So debt management, this is important that we follow the Colorado Constitution and we have limits set on how much we're able to borrow. And so that's outlined in that area as well. The Utility Enterprise Fund, this is the water fund. So this fund, and we talked about that, this fund should pay for itself. So rates should be equivalent to the full cost to cover the cost of running a water department. And so we're removing that subsidy that we talked about from the general fund. So again, when we look at rate stabilization, if there is a drought or there is something that's going to impact the water fund, do we want to have some sort of rate stabilization fund that you set aside so there's monies there to be able to trigger that and say, okay, we don't want the rates to be negatively impacted. We have some money set aside for that. And then also the asset management fund, I put in my present 20%. It's blank in your documentation because we're not really sure where we are from an asset management plan, but I would like to see about that 20% so there's monies available to be able to replace things in the enterprise fund and the water fund. Policy 13, so this is auditing, accounting, and financial reporting. We do a comprehensive financial audit. We comply with accounting principles, and so this is just making sure that we're doing those things and you know we're doing those things. The credit card policy, the one that is included in your packet, we don't believe was adopted by the council, but it was put in place internally. And so we want to make sure that that meets your expectations. So it's important to take a look at that. It's very specific on what's allowed and what's not allowed.
Is there a time where someone may have at one time or another used the town credit card for the involving trade-in of town property?
I have no idea.
You have it as a bullet. So purchases involving trade-in of town property. I'm assuming that's a computer and not actual land. It's on page 25 of her 14.05. I just wonder how that would have come to mind if you had seen that in your past or it just stuck out. The other items I totally get. You can't go out to, eat lunch every day on the town. No buying of alcohol and things like that.
I did not change the policy because I was unsure whether you had seen it or not. And so I didn't want to take it upon myself. What I removed was the procedures behind it, but this was the policy that is on file. And so if there's things you'd like to change, this is the opportunity to do that.
I think this was established like a year and a half or 2 years ago.
No, it was established after Councilmember Chronic and I saw credit cards.
That's what I mean. It was like a year and a half or 2 years ago.
Early 2024.
2 years? No,
early 2024.
Okay, so it was a year and a half. Right.
So, yeah, I think we're not approving anything tonight on this, but I love where you're going with this, the whole thing.
Right.
Okay. All right. And then 15 is disposition of town property. And that was an existing policy. Again, don't know if you actually approved it, but it is existing, so I did not change it. And then number 16 is that we periodically review these policies.
What?
I know.
Crazy.
I know. So this is the opportunity to have a discussion about it, provide any direction of things you'd like to see changed. And then I'd like to bring this to the May 5th council meeting. We'll be doing the amended budget, and then I would bring the final for your adoption. My goal is to get these adopted before the 2024 audit is complete so that these can be registered and shown in the 2024 audit that we have financial policies in place. Excuse me?
Is it complete June 30th? The audit completion date is
June.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
What day would you like us to respond by? You want to bring this for a resolution or an ordinance?
It would be a resolution.
And what date would that be?
Well, my hope is May 5th. So the idea was to have the discussion and the feedback tonight so that I could incorporate it and then present it for adoption on the 5th.
I went through all of the bullet points and I don't have anything to counter with. This is something that obviously should have been done quite some time ago. And so I do appreciate that you brought it to the attention during the board retreat and that you were prepared to present it to us in time for the meeting. So bravo to you and your team for getting that done.
How about you, Jennifer? Is there anything you want to add in this?
This is
take out.
In my opinion, these are best practices. And so we can always change them. If I come across something in somewhere that I say, oh my gosh, this would have been great to have, that's the point. I can bring it back. We can do an amendment. But this is pretty standard best practice. I would feel very comfortable if you adopted these.
Okay, and I agree with that.
The only thing for the policy review, I would say once a year, once every 2 years. Yeah. And what's the call it the industry standards? Every couple years? I mean, I don't see like large changes unless obviously you find something.
Or statutory, something
Yeah,
statutory.
and then obviously would come to us. So I'm thinking every 2 years.
We
Would
could add that in.
2 years? That seems like quite the stretch.
Okay, every year? What do you
You're
think?
thinking 6 months? Well, how about every 6 months you tell us, you come back to us and you say, would you like to see anything changed? I have nothing new for you and the policies are working. And if we're good with that, then there's nothing, it just keeps going on.
Yeah, because that way we can specify in financial policy number 16.
Right.
I also like your goals that you had for reserves at our retreat. Obviously, we're gonna have to work into that.
Yep.
So however you want to adjust that language to reflect, because, that made a lot of sense, especially when you said, an emergency is the same cost.
Yep. The language I put in here for the emergency fund and the economic uncertainty, or whatever I called it, that's the one. Budget stabilization is to strive towards.
Right.
So we could establish them in 2026 and put $10 in, or $100 or $1,000, and then continue to strive as we look at our finances.
That sounds good.
I like it.
What about going back to the general fund with the goal of 20%? I mean, we're just refresh my memories. Where we stand right now?
So what you adopted was 13.37. What I'll bring to you with the actuals will be a little bit higher. We're at about 22%, because actuals, we didn't spend as much and we brought in a little higher revenue. And so the end of 2024 will show about a 22% reserve. And then for 25, that's what I'm working on now based on some of the feedback I received at the retreat.
Yeah. So do we say in the language, to strive to maintain no less than 20%?
I think I have with an upper goal of 20%. So I could change it to strive to maintain. I wasn't sure where you wanted to be.
I think your language is good.
Yeah.
And then we've got those other reserves as well, so.
Right.
Yeah, that's 2.04 with the upper goal of 20%. I have no problem with the language.
Because there's other reserves that we're gonna try to.
You had mentioned the strategic plan.
We're establishing other reserves.
I'm sorry?
We're establishing other
Yeah,
reserves.
policy 2 establishes the emergency and
the budget
stabilization.
Right.
But to your point that you brought up the strategic plan, obviously we've all met with our strategic planning consultant, and what I picked up on this is that you keyed off in this whole presentation that one of the strategic priorities of the council is all about the money, right? And I appreciate you and your teams paying attention to that. Your objectives you're already ahead of the game. So thank you for doing that.
Great.
Yeah, for sure.
Yes, I have one question. First of all, you're not allowed to go anywhere. Okay, you're stuck here. You can't go anywhere. All right.
I'll give her parking spot back too.
Oh, you did.
I'm going to, just to make sure she doesn't go anywhere.
Oh, okay.
You noticed where I was today, right?
Is the Porsche out there?
Uh-huh.
I did not see it.
It's in the corner.
All right, well,
Not in your corner. And
I'm happy to give my corner up so you don't go anywhere.
Okay.
But in the event that you retired at some point in time,
Yes.
way down the road,
Yes.
and somebody else comes in, how What mechanism do we use to assure that these policies remain in effect?
They're your policies. That's the whole
I
point.
knew you were going to say that.
That's the idea of checking in. So my thought would be every 6 months, we're basically, we'll be in May. So I would check back in with you when we do the budget, right? So we'll approve the budget in December 2025 for 2026. That would be another touch point. And so hopefully they become standard operating procedure. You know, they're there, you know what the expectations are, right? And the leadership team, the town manager knows, and this is an expectation you have for staff.
Yeah, now these policies, especially since you cross into the usage of credit card, I'm guessing that every employee that's issued a credit card has a supporting document that they sign in blood that says if they abuse the policy, there's some type of penalty for that, right?
Yes, we are working to make sure everyone has signed that form.
Okay.
Flogging at Lindbach Park.
Flogging?
Flogging.
No flogging.
That could be a Wednesday night concerts in the park.
We'll bring.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Excellent job to you and the team. I really can't say enough.
Good.
Seriously.
It's a great team. Finance is it's a great team of people.
All right.
Yeah, thanks for everything.
All right, we move on to public comment for items not on the agenda. Individuals attending in person may raise their hand to indicate their desire to comment. Individuals attending via Teams may raise their hand digitally to comment via connected devices. Please lower your hand when finished with your comments. Comments are limited to 3 minutes. Oh, the hands are up.
Apparently we have no one in here that
Oh,
wants to speak.
where-
Online, do we have anybody online? No one? Just no one wants to?
To the gentleman behind Mr. Howe. Is our clock working? No, seriously, we have a clock. Okay, hang on. What? Miss Oz is working on the clock.
Yeah, I knew his name.
I knew his name. I've been.
This is a matter of safety.
We would like, the homeowners association would like some signage indicating the speed limit for Knollwood, which I believe is 25 miles an hour, where it intersects with Quarry Way. This is a intersection which is just east of Monument Junction, the classic homes development. It comes off a blind curve off of Knollwood, and there's a dog path or a pedestrian walkway, dog path there. We'd like some kind of, the homeowner association would like some kind of a signage for vehicular speed limit, or a painted crosswalk or something to tell vehicles to slow down. That's our request.
Normally we wouldn't discuss, but I do know that a 25 mile an hour speed limit sign was placed after the last request. As you leave Monument Junction and you are heading east on Knollwood, there is a sign at I believe it's the first intersection, Tom?
I don't know exactly, but I know the sign was put up several weeks ago.
Okay, well, we'll have to take a look at it again.
On your way home, go past the new light that's not active and make a left and go through the new development, and you should see it on your right-hand side as you exit Monument Junction into Village Centers. I don't know what part that is, but it's what, Estates or something.
I appreciate your request. I have reservations about going through the new development because I've had 4 flat tires going through that new development. So I resist going through that development over the last several months, but I'll walk it to make sure. Okay. Yeah. Whatever.
You can come get me if you want.
No, that's okay.
I'll ride my e-bike over there.
Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you. Mr. Howe?
Thank you. John Howe, 880 Beacon Lite Road, number 9, Monument. First of all, I want to thank all of you for your service. I've been meaning to do that other meetings that I've come to and didn't get my mouth open. But anyway, so thank you all for that. And as far as providing a tree at Monument Sanitation, I'm on the board over there and I heard about it. And you took out the old tree. I had to move my car because I was parked there. Anyway, so thank you for that. On behalf of our community news, I'm on the board. And I want to also comment, thank you very much for Jim Romanello's presentation earlier. Michael Weinfeld was here, took pictures. It will be in the next issue. We've cleared that already with the big boss, John Heiser. So it will be in there. Thank you for that. One other thing I want to bring up, I have a big mouth and I have big ears, but I can only speak personally. I'm very concerned for the months that there has not been a vote of any kind or really, and I looked at the agenda tonight and could not believe there wasn't anything about the town manager. We need a town manager that is going to be permanent. You had, our last one was here 5 years. We are in an interim for quite a while. I do have big ears and I've heard other people commented about it. I hope that you're going to hear me tonight and get busy. We need those people who have applied, somebody make a decision for them. Okay. And I wish you all a very good retreat. You've got a lot to cover on that retreat. Do lots of praying. That's what retreats are for. Thank you again. Good night.
Thank you. Yes. Sweargen.
Nancy Swearingen, 418 Trailhead Road Monument. Good evening. And that was very nice to talk about Mr. Romanello. He is going to be sorely missed by a number of people in town. I actually came tonight for exactly what Mr. Howe said. It's like, why do we not have a town manager by now? I don't know what the process is. I don't know what the holdup is, but it's bad look and it really needs to be taken care of and progress made, and let's get a town manager in. And I would like to also say that the presentation earlier today, I was a little bit horrified to find out we do not have any funds set aside for a rainy day. And I think that that would be a very significant thing for the town to move forward on. Thank you.
Thank you. Will, is there anybody online that would like to? I see him. He's going to have to wait now. Just want to know, Will, is there anybody online that wants to make public comment? Okay, then Commissioner Wysong, would you like to speak?
The Wysong County Commissioner. That's who I am, but the rest of this is me personally. Thought it would have been appropriate to donate something a little more than a standard bench for Councilmember Romanello. So if the finance director could take that as an individual contribution, and maybe other people will donate from a standpoint of, I think I've only talked to Jim once while I was running for this position, and I never had the chance to, other than I think met him also once. But based on what I have heard, an outstanding individual, cared deeply about Monument. I didn't live in Monument, but I live, 7 miles east for a couple years, but this was an area that we thoroughly enjoyed for that 2 years that I was here. And I just thought this would just be something to do something a little special. There might even be a metal shop in town that will actually make a very customized bench. So that's what I'd like to contribute. And again, I really enjoy the town monument. In these board meetings, you have fun. Granted, I haven't had a lot of them, but I've probably sat through maybe 100 plus in Colorado Springs, and this is a joy. And Councilmember Abbott, thank you for reading the proclamation. I know it was tough. So
Teary-eyed about it, but it was hitting home for me.
it was personal for me, and that's why for the towns that I'm participated, because I felt it was important. And hopefully you'll see more of me. If you need something, the mayor and the mayor pro tem know how to reach me. So I will be depositing this with your financial member.
That is extraordinarily gracious.
Thank you.
You bet.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. Well, I don't think I can follow that, but I do want to address a future, I'm going to steal your thunder on future agenda items. And oddly enough, I'm going to be addressing a concern or two for the consideration of finalists for the town manager role. We have been asked, so we were supposed to be, this is on the agenda for May 5th. And due to a personal conflict from one of the candidates, we have been asked to postpone that item on the agenda. I discussed it with HR today and our attorney. And if the council is agreeable, we would host a special meeting on May 8th. That is when schedules don't collide so far with staff, attorneys, and it would be up to the candidates also, as well as council. So if you could look at your calendars, it would be the only thing on the agenda would be the consideration of finalists and the selection of, well, you tell us what time works for you.
I think a special meeting just in general is a good idea. So that we don't get bogged down in other details. So I would be all for a special meeting dependent upon everybody's schedule here.
For consistency, I would just keep it at 6:30.
Well, that's fine, as long as that works for everybody's schedule.
Yeah.
It works for mine.
Yes.
Okay, so the council's in agreement. I will leave it up to HR, who's not here. Oh, there she is. I'm sorry. My apologies. I didn't see you back there. I don't have my binoculars on. I will leave it up for you to reach out to the candidates to confirm that date works. And otherwise, the council direction is to schedule a special meeting, language to be determined by Rebecca and company with staff. And we will take care of that piece of business on the 8th of May. And now a word from our sponsor.
Definitely not the sponsor. We could use sponsors though. First, I want to acknowledge that this Wednesday is Administrative Professionals Day. So I just would really like to thank the administrative professionals that we have in our organization for all of their hard work and their professionalism. Next, we would like to ask Council and the Planning Commission to have a combined study session on June 11th to talk about the comprehensive plan. I believe it's a Wednesday. So I just need to know if that
June 11th is it's also concerts in the park.
is a concerts in the park day, but it's also a regular planning commission meeting day.
Who would we, like copacetic? What time does their meeting start?
Yeah, we have concerts in the park every Wednesday.
It's
Yeah.
every Wednesday. All right.
I work with Plan Commission. They should be able to go to a concert too, so.
Yeah, don't miss all the concerts.
Yeah.
They'll miss not all the concerts, just
Once a month.
Once a month. Concerts are every week. It's time to go home. So we'll look at potential other dates and bring those back to you.
Okay.
The Girls of the West have requested to come and do their presentation either May 19th or June 2nd.
Is it that time already?
It's that time.
Holy.
Would you like me to pretend to do their commercial?
They have a new commercial?
I'm sure they have a new person doing the commercial.
You're saying June 2nd?
May 19th or June 2nd.
June 2nd's June 2nd has less things on the agenda so far than the 19th.
Correct, at this time.
And that is our anniversary.
The Town of
That's our
Monuments
birthday.
anniversary, yes, yes.
June 2nd is our birthday.
Official.
Talk about that, but.
Well, we'll get to that later. I'm okay with June if everybody else is okay with June.
Yeah, that's fine.
That's fine.
I'd like to make a,
Hang on a second. Commissioner Weissong, I request your presence if you've not witnessed the Girls of the West and their presentation. It is something to behold. And the entire audience is agreeing with me. You should definitely come that day. So put it on your calendar, June 2nd. And it's our birthday anyway, so you should come and celebrate. Maybe we'll have a cake. Gluten-free cake for you. There's such thing.
there is, but I have a request. Is there any way that we can cap their presentation at 20 minutes?
We did last time.
Yeah, I think we told them 15 last year.
Okay. And that didn't work at all. It never does, yeah. Okay,
Yeah.
all right.
Yes.
Share people.
And then we have two proclamations that we'd like to bring on May 5th, one for Older Americans Month and one for Mental Health Month.
To what? Proclamation?
Proclamations.
Bring them whenever.
The two not being related, right?
There are two separate proclamations. Actually, Councilmember Chronic
Too
is the
soon?
one who's suggesting these.
What's the first one?
Older Americans.
You have to be here, John. Oh, the whole row needs to, and the one behind you. Walker?
Mental health. Mental Health Month. Oh, sorry, Mental Health Awareness.
You're 2 for 2, John.
Whatever you think is the best.
Okay.
To bring date wise.
Yeah, date wise, those two, since they are for the month of May, make sense to bring to the next meeting. So we will get those scheduled, and that's the end of my list for you tonight.
Okay. Perfect. I council comment perspective, I think I've said everything personally that needs to be said. I don't have anything that needs to be said, so I don't know about anybody else.
I have one thing in 69 parts.
Go for it.
Just kidding. Two things. Number one, in 69 parts. Number one, retreat. Thank you to everybody. It was an excellent retreat. I only made it to the second day, so I apologize for that. But it was awesome. So thank you to especially staff and leadership. And then second thing, I want to give a shout out to Officer Ellis and Officer Fisher. So my better half, Anne Marie, she does neighborhood watch, and then she does security for St. Pete's. So she works with both officers. Apparently, they do a lot, and somehow they find times to sleep as well. So Officer Ellis was instrumental in setting up a let's call it a working relationship between St. Pete's and MPD. St. Pete's, of course, is not in D38. It's one of the diocese's schools, but it's in downtown. It's in the middle of Monument. So thanks to Officer Ellis. And Officer Fisher, again, apparently she does a lot of things as the community resource officer, and somehow finds time to sleep as well. Big shout out to both of them. Like I said, my better half, can't say enough great things about both. So thank you.
Okay. I guess we will make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned.